Hey everybody, this is Matthew and welcome back to Nerd News Today, and this time around we got some more wrestling figures to take a look at. The iconic opening that's now on modern day WWE programming caps off with the slogan, "Then, Now, Forever." And more accurate words cannot be spoken when it comes to pro wrestling from WWE. It's been a mainstay for so many people across different generations, and what we're going to take a look at today is honoring those many generations of wrestlers in one awesome figure 4-pack. Today from Target, we are taking a look at the Then Now Forever Mattel 4-pack, which includes some really awesome designs for characters we've gotten before, but in some cases, not in these particular outfits. And this is an era-spanning 4-pack as well, because this 4-pack here includes Hulk Hogan with the big green belt, which is the first time they've done the big green belt in green. We've got Rocky Myva from the New Gen era in his really silly debut attire. We've got Stone Cold Steve Austin in his iconic Austin 316 t-shirt, jean shorts, and knee braces from the Attitude Era. And bringing us into modern times, we've got Becky Lynch in one of her outfits from her really awesome and I think highly underrated recent heel run. And yes, unfortunately, there is no Ruthless Aggression era. We're missing a few eras perhaps, but we're still getting a lot of the major characters here in these outfits that we haven't really had before, or in some cases haven't had in a very long time. I'm really excited to dig into this pack here. I got a lot to say about it because there were some things I liked and didn't like from the outset, but now that it's in my hands, well, maybe my thoughts will change. But first things first, let's talk about this packaging here, and this is just a big old 4-pack, and it's got this great big window on the front that lets you see clearly into all the figures that come in this set, as well as a look at all the accessories that they have as well, which for the most part is entrance gear, and that entrance gear is already on all of them. Now, as far as the sides of the packaging go, we'll skip over that because there's really not much to it. I mean, logos and that's about it. But the back of the box is cool because, again, it goes through all those different eras and gives us a little paragraph about each of these wrestlers in the specific time period and the outfits that they're wearing. It's just cool how seamless the photos transition as well, or at least in most cases. Because if you really want to nitpick, yeah, Rocky Myva's red ropes are kind of sticking out of Hogan's ropes. It's a little bit funny looking, but other than that, it actually moves fairly seamless as far as the design goes of it. And it's got some pretty solid, decent information about all the characters that we're going to take a look at today, and it helps to contextualize these outfits a little bit. To be completely honest, they're not really focused on the outfits that they're wearing, so if you know, you know. If you don't know, it's really just telling you who these guys are. I do wish it kind of was a little bit more pointed in the direction of what events that these outfits were from, but WWE doesn't really do that often with these bios, so it is what it is. We've kind of come to expect that. So to be honest, this is the kind of 4-pack I probably would have normally left in box, especially because I am an autograph hound, and this would make for a really cool autograph piece to have this signed by all 4 wrestlers. That would be so cool and so expensive, which is why I'm not going to do that. I'm going to kill the temptation by taking these guys now all out of the box. So without further ado, let's get our wrestlers out of the packaging, into the ring, and take a closer look at them from all angles. And here we go. Here is our WWE Then, Now, Forever 4-pack. And they are all, as the saying also ends with, together. So let's take a closer look at these guys. Starting from the farthest left, we have American-made Hulk Hogan. We have Rocky Myva, and I believe it's his debut attire, or at the very least, very early attire. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin in the signature Austin 316 shirt. And then we got on the very bottom here, Becky Lynch. I gotta drop the camera down, she's a little bit shorter than the rest, but Becky Lynch from one of the most recent WrestleManias during her heel run. So we're gonna spend some time now one-on-one with each of these figures. I wanna give you guys a quick look at them before I start doing that, because even together, they're a real mishmash of eras, but man, do they look good together. And it's cool to see these guys in one spot, you know, because as I mentioned, this is the first time we're getting the big green belt on Hogan in green form. This is the first time in many years we've gotten Rock in this attire. I don't know when the last times we've gotten an Austin like this. Furthest far back I can think of is actually another Target exclusive figure. It was a Target Hall of Fame line where they had Austin in a similar style, but different outfit from a few years after this. And this is the first of Becky in this outfit. We haven't gotten a lot of elites in her heel look, so it's pretty cool to get her in this style. So for a 4-pack that I was really a little bit mixed on initially, I'm actually a lot more excited now seeing these guys out of the box. So let's go ahead now and start looking at them one by one. And let's start with the earliest figure in this lineup here, and that's Hulk Hogan. So here's our close-up look at the American-made Hulk Hogan. So this is meant to be around like 84, I guess, maybe 85, depending when you look at it. But this is essentially the rise of Hulkamania Hulk Hogan right here. So it's a pretty iconic look for him. You know, this is the red and yellow time period. He's done wearing different colors, but now he here is in the red and yellow, and he's got the big green belt. So this is what's pretty exciting for me. And the fact is that this big green belt here was previously available in the Coliseum collection. The problem was it was not in these colors, it wasn't green. And it was honestly a bait and switch, and it's something I still have not forgiven Mattel over. I understand there was a reason for it, but they probably should have done a better job telling this to fans and customers ahead of time instead of suddenly the figures arriving and oh, it's the wrong color. And the reason being was that apparently they hadn't worked out the rights issue yet with it. So it wasn't that it was completely inaccurate either, because it was black and it was similar to the original LJN toys. But the fact is, most of us didn't want to buy another Hogan, even if it was a very good Hogan, but we had to get that belt. So once again, to get this wonderful big green belt, I had to buy a 4-pack. I'm very annoyed about that. And honestly, that's actually where I'm going to really begin this review and focus on it, because I've waited for this belt for a long time in figure form. So this belt is very nice. It's very green. It's got some great detail. It's also missing a lot of detail. So as far as like the front medallion goes, it's there. It's just missing a lot of nice detail, which again makes me really worried. They're going to do another release with updated sculpt inside it. I really hope that they don't, but it's Mattel at this point, whatever. The side medallions are absolutely nothing. They have zero detail on them. They just look like gold bricks. They're worthless. They're completely and utterly worthless. So yeah, if you're hoping for a better version of the belts, no, but it's green, so at least they're, you know, halfway close to right now. The back of the belt does have the nice straps, which do work really nicely, and you'll notice too, the belt is pretty thick. It is a larger belt. It really stands out from so many other championship belts of that era, and even this era, because of the color, because of the sheer size of it. So it's a very unique championship belt for a very important era of Hulk Hogan's popularity. It's just unfortunate that it's still kind of not great, but at least we have it, so that's something to be happy about. Now, that said, if you're a little bit psychotic like I am and you want to have something that's seriously really, really detailed, well, let's go ahead and take this belt off and I'll show you what I had to do. And this is a workaround I've shown on camera several times before, including on the other review that we did, which was of those Coliseum figures. So this is a 3D printed belt with leather strap made by Forbidden Figurines. So this is how the belt should actually look, and when you compare it, you can see there's really no comparison because one is accurate, one is, well, it's green. So yeah, this is how the belt should actually look, and I don't know if Forbidden Figurines is going to do another run of this, but my suggestion really is if you're really obsessed with this belt and want it done the right way, you might want to seek out someone who does 3D printing, because that's going to be the best way to get this to be the most accurate version of this title that you should have. And yeah, this Forbidden Figurines one is outstanding. It's one of my favorites that was ever made, and yeah, I can't get over how great that thing looks. So if we pull out this shot of our Hogan and get a better look at him with that belt now around his waist, you can see what I'm talking about. This looks really cool like this. I mean, to be fair, you know, this is a fine substitute. It is what it is. At least we have it in mass-produced format. You know, keep in mind this belt that's around his waist cost about 30, 40-ish bucks, somewhere around there, so you get what you pay for, quite honestly, but it looks awesome. So let's take off this belt though, just because that's not really the main focus here of this video, even though for me, it honestly is. I mean, that was truly the reason I actually purchased this 4-pack, really, more than anything else, was for this belt. And it's whatever, but as far as the Hogan goes, I mean, quite honestly, we've gotten this Hogan now how many times in the last year and a half? There's really nothing different about it. And frankly, there's better Hogans to get out there too. I mean, if you're a real Hogan fanatic, you'll want it for the American-made outfit that's here. But otherwise, I mean, this is just the classic ketchup and mustard Hogan. I mean, there's Hulkamania on the back, but again, it's just a red and yellow Hogan. If you've gotten one, you've gotten them all, because there really aren't that many different looks for him. As I've said, really the main reason to get these figures are the entrance gear parts, and that would be, in this case, that shirt and this belt here. But to be fair, he does come with some other accessories, so I am going to actually take this off, just so we can also kind of show you guys more what the accessories are. So that includes an alternate head sculpt and more hands. To take this off completely, just so you can see how he looks. And yeah, it's a fine Hogan. It's going to be literally the exact same body you've seen in every Hogan released so far. And I say that with the caveat that this does have the updated tanned skin. A few years ago, they didn't do this, but now that Hogan's back in the company, they finally updated his skin to be as tan and dark as it should be. Accessories. We do have an alternate head sculpt, and we'll pop that on. That goes on nice and easy. So this is just more of a serious head sculpt as opposed to this more smiley head sculpt here. That's really the only major difference about that. And as far as hands go, we have a set of pointer fingers. Boop. And in addition to the pointer finger, Hogan has another set of hands. We have these open hands right here, so he could hold some objects, he could hold his belt, whatever he wants to do. So you got a grand total of 6 hands for our Hulk Hogan. I don't really need to take off both, I don't feel like, although you can use them for posing, because that is a classic Hogan double pointing pose, so it's kind of fun that that's there. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, you're basically just going to get yourself a nice little Hogan point, and that kind of summarizes Hogan. there's not much different about him other than that. I mean, I'll put the belt back on him here. I'm not going to really go in depth on articulation just because you can already see it for yourself. Articulation is going to be exact same as any other elite Hogan out there, which is good. He has very good articulation. He does have the double jointed elbows, ball joints. It all looks fine to me, but again, it's nothing unusual or different from what we've seen in the past. The only difference is going to be this championship belt right here. So, you know, if you've already gotten a Hogan, and chances are you probably bought at least 12 by this point, do you need this one again? Not really, mostly if you just want to get that belt. And for me, I did, so I took the sacrifice. But the good news is I think the rest of the figures in this 4-pack are actually a lot better than people think. So let's keep moving. And let's go now to our Rocky Myva figure. So here's Rocky Myva. I believe this is his debut attire, which is pretty cool. Let's do a quick little up and down so you can see all of that. So I think this was a ringside exclusive several years ago, and emphasis on the several. It was definitely more than 5, maybe even closer to 8 years. It's somewhere in that range, but it's been a long time since they did this version of The Rock. So it's nice that we got him again, and you know, it's not going to be the kind of figure everybody wants to get, so it makes sense to put him into this 4-pack. Now I have to tell you, as far as the figures go, this is probably the one I wanted the least in the 4-pack, but now that I'm seeing him in hand, I actually really like it. I'm actually really impressed by this one. Still not my favorite, but it's actually very, very good. So this is meant to be young Rock, and he's got a great head sculpt. So this is meant to be a much younger version of The Rock, and it looks like him. It even has the giant hair that he had back then. Although, to be honest, part of me, whenever I see him from this angle, it looks like that Kevin James meme that's going around right now. But yeah, the head sculpt is good. It's kind of fun also just looking at this and seeing like how much of a family resemblance there is in the Royal Samoan family where The Rock comes from and all of those many other Samoans out there. It's kind of fun seeing that in there. You know, you can see just... But yeah, otherwise, really, the face sculpt is great. I mean, I could just go on and on about it. It's a really good, positive head sculpt. Nice hair. You've got the long sideburns as well, which is pretty key to his look. And this is a babyface Rocky, although that wouldn't last for very long because the fans would turn on him very quickly, and thus The Rock would be born. But man, great job on the hair. Really just wonderful job getting him to look like he's a younger version of The Rock. So yeah, head sculpt is absolutely great, and it's painted really solidly as well, so no complaints there. And once more, it's all about the entrance gear with this version of The Rock. Although even then, you know, his wrestling gear is actually pretty cool, pretty unique, and nicely detailed. So I'll just give you guys another look at that. This wonderful bright blue color with some curious-looking Samoan designs on there. The boots are that sort of classic Rocky style boot that he wore. And there you go, just really solid amount of details here. But yeah, it's really this like piece of entrance gear that's really cool. That's, you know, actually really unique to this character. So I am going to take it off just to show you guys, but just so you can see it from behind. I mean, it even has like the full-on tassels, head to toe dangling. That looks amazing. Yeah, that's actually really cool that they included that, the way that they did this here. Nice variety of colors in those blues, too. It's not just one color of blue. It's actually, I think, 2, maybe 3 colors, but I'm pretty sure it's at the very least 2 colors of blue in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get the entrance gear off of him. I don't think it actually has a latch or anything. It looks like it's actually meant to be sewed together as one solid piece. So, yeah. Now, as I look at it now, you guys can see a little bit better at that. What I'm talking about here, it is not meant to be pulled apart. It looks like it is, but it's actually not, as far as I can tell. Yeah, it's a little hard to show, but honestly, I'm not too sure about it. So if you get this, just pop the head off, because you saw how easy that was. And another fun little thing about The Rock, now that you can see him with it off there with that entrance gear off, he actually has a piece of tape across his shoulders, and that is to prevent staining. So that's something that you're not going to know about unless you watch a video like this. So Mattel's got you covered, because we do know that fabric like this will ultimately stain figures over time. In fact, what I'm not going to have in my collection, all soft goods, including this one, will be off the figure in a separate Ziploc bag. But as far as it is in store, it will be safe. So at the very least, for a few years, you'll be okay. You should not have to worry about that much staining. Although, again, look at it from behind. Cool design on his outfits there. Looks really sharp. Looks really nice. I'm also really digging the elbow pads, which is a nice little touch here. You guys can see just great design on that. So I am going to take this tape off. I guess I might as well, right? There we go. The Rock says, take that tape off his back. In addition to the awesome entrance gear, Rocky actually comes with a few other accessories. He's got a total of 6 hands. So currently on him you can see the closed fists, but in addition to that he has some open hands so he could hold weapons or microphones or whatever, which is a nice addition. And he's got some completely open hands. So there you go. You can kind of do an early version of the Just Bring It. It's not quite the Just Bring It hands that we saw in some of the Rock Ultimate Edition figures, but he does have open hands, so you can get some extra posing, and that's actually a really nice little touch. And so that's how our Rock is going to look now with his head back on his body, head to toe, Great looking young Rock, good physique on him. The physique might be a little maybe inaccurate because I know he was going through some body transformations at this point in his career. He'd get a little bit bigger, a little bit chunkier for a while until he finally would find his physique and his fitness routine that worked for him, but it's still a really solid Rock. He's ready to do his drop kicks and his flying cross body blocks. So, you know, in my opinion, still probably the weakest of the four, but not a bad one. And I mean, you know, I say that, but now after I've looked at Hogan, I'm like, again, I'm rethinking my stance on this Hogan just because that stupid little belt. So, yeah, either way, this Rock figure is looking pretty good here. Let's keep moving on to the next generation, or should I say... But otherwise, this Rocky Myva is looking really nice, really sharp. So let's go ahead now and move on. It's time for us to take a look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. There he is. This is a nice looking figure of our Stone Cold Steve Austin character in full-on entrance gear in the classic t-shirt and the jean shorts. Or do we just call them jorts instead? I don't quite know, but yeah, there's our Stone Cold Steve Austin in his full-on gear. So we've gotten a few versions of Austin over the years in his actual wrestling gear, very few in this style. You know, if you have the Ultimate Edition of him, you get basically both in one, of course, but not with the jean shorts. So it's kind of rare, I guess, to get him in this version here. And this is the first Austin 316 shirt we've gotten in an Elite in I don't even know how long. So that's actually really cool. Now, as far as head sculpts go, it's a very accurate version of Stone Cold. It's actually a really good looking head sculpt. I just don't like the expression on the face. That expression is just so like blank and bland. It says nothing. It's just the least possible expressive face he could have. It does look like him, and it does have kind of like this mean grimace, but it's still kind of just like, kind of neutral, which I don't like about it. And as I look closer, by the way, I can see the mold line across his head. That's kind of gross. Nobody wants to actually see that mold line. Not much you can do about it at this point. But other than that, I mean, his head's bald, so there's no real hair to talk about, no real texture there to discuss. But, you know, again, the head sculpt is nice. It's just a little neutral. So do with it what you will. It's definitely not my favorite head sculpt out there. It's okay for like general purposes, Austin. If it's maybe, you know, if you're doing your figure photography and he's cutting a promo, it kind of works. But otherwise, you know, not super exciting. It just gets the job done. Now, I do want to point out, too, one of the things about this Austin here is his joints are very tight. So he has all the same articulation as anybody has. And it's actually not even that hindered by the t-shirt. The t-shirt's pretty flexible. His shoulders move nicely, by the way. His head can move nicely. But I found his legs to be like really resistant. So I haven't hit him up with a hairdryer yet, but I'm definitely going to, because this is just like, I'm afraid to keep going because it will totally, oh, you hear that snap? I mean, yeah, that's the kind of noise you don't want to ever hear. That's just some dried up paint hanging out in there. So it's an easy fix, but it's still not fun to hear that noise. And it's partly because of that's why my Austin is kind of like hunching over a little bit. I don't know if it's easy to tell on camera, but if I do it from the side, maybe you guys can see, he's basically leaning. And that's just because those joints are so tight. The good news is they're so tight he's not going to fall down because of it, but it's still an annoying problem. So I actually do want to spend some time on his lower body just because that is where really a lot of the interesting stuff is happening with this figure here. And that includes those jorts and includes the double knee braces, and that's important too because that lets you know exactly when this figure is from. Because, you know, you can look at Austin's career and you'll see him in WCW. He's not really wearing the braces. He's wearing knee pads at most. And then he gets to WWF and he starts wearing the single knee brace. A few years later, he's doing the double knee braces. So it's kind of interesting. You could actually track his career through WWE based on his knee braces and even the knee brace color. But what is cool on his legs also is his Texas tattoo. It's actually right there, right above his boot. And Austin does have the short boots, as he should have as well. So everything is there that makes up our Austin figure. Another fun little thing here is I didn't show the back of the shirt yet, but check it out. You've got the Smoking Skull logo with the Texas flag on there as well. That's a detail you're not going to see unless you get them out of the packaging. So there it is. That's really fun. And it is just a Velcro enclosure if you want to take it off. I'm going to leave it on for now just because we know what the body looks like. We know how it's going to articulate. And again, this is not an Austin that I'm going to really ever want to take him out of this entrance gear to begin with. And just like our other figures, again, Stone Cold has an additional set of hands. So right now he's got two closed fists on. If you want, you could swap them out with some open hands. So he could hold a microphone, he could hold a brewski, or he could hold a steel chair. So it's a pretty good Austin, actually. You know, I mean, as far as like a plainclothes Austin goes and ready to cut promos or raise some hell, this is fine. It's actually, I think, much needed for a lot of folks who do figure photography, especially because you kind of need to have this type of Austin. So, you know, for that alone, how it looks, it's pretty good to me. I like this a lot. So that's a look at Stone Cold. Let's go ahead now and move into the modern era. So last but not least, the figure that, in my opinion, is actually the best one in this set, and that's going to be our Becky Lynch. So I know it's going to be a controversial statement to a lot of folks because, quite honestly, I know a lot of wrestling collectors out there who get the figures and don't buy the women, and it boggles my mind because the women really have some of the best outfits among the entire figure series. I mean, really, look at them across the lines. You'll see they got the best outfits, the most intricate outfits, and their looks are always the most different. You know, like even looking at this 4-pack here, we have a Rocky Myva over here, and we got a big old Hulk Hogan right over here, and it's just two shirtless dudes. The ladies get really cool outfits, and case in point, this Becky Lynch is no exception. She is in her full-on WrestleMania entrance gear from heel Becky. This is so cool. Everything about this is just so awesome. I was actually waiting for them to announce when this figure was going to be made. Didn't expect it to be part of this series, but here we are, and like, wowie, wow, wow. Everything about this is just so gorgeous. The details are out of this world. Of all four in here, I mean, she clearly has the best entrance gear, bar none. Whether we're talking about the nice fabric that makes up her crazy looking skirt thing, or the top, I don't even know what you want to call that thing, but it's so cool. It's like some sort of like Evil Lyn Skeletor Masters Universe craziness. It's so bizarre. It's also so artsy with a little headdress on with all the prismatic pieces on there. Like, this figure is going to go great when they start making more Seth freaking Rollins figures and all of his crazy outfits. This is like the perfect pairing to have these two together. Like, I just love everything about this figure here. Whether we're talking about the boots, whether we're talking about this skirt, whether we're talking about the leather entrance gear, the headdress, like everything here is amazing. Let's spend some time talking about this head sculpt also. And in case you're wondering, yes, this piece here does come off. So her headdress thingy does come off. It's removable. And there's her face. And it was during this period where she's kind of having her emo phase. So she was kind of covering up her face more with her bangs. It was a cool look. And again, they've like really captured it. It's a perfect head sculpt. I mean, it looks just like Becky. They got her nose, her lips, the pouting face especially. This is what I'm talking about. It's not the most expressive face, and most women's figures don't really have the most expressive faces to begin with, but her face here says a lot because this actually kind of was how she looked. Because this is kind of how she looked. This is how she walked around for the most part with this expression on her face. And likewise too, the hair is really nice. Great job on the hair. Excellent color. So yeah, this is a perfect Becky. This is a real great Becky. You know, if you've been not buying, again, women's wrestling figures, and this is going to be your first, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the gateway drug. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, I don't want to take her out of this wrestling gear. I'm actually debating right now for the purpose of this video if I'm going to leave it on or off, because I know folks want to see it, but I'm also just like, this just looks so perfect, and I don't know if it'll go back on as perfectly if I take it off. But I guess for the sake of this video, I'm going to have to just give it a try, and we'll see how it works. Okay, I don't want to do this, but here we go. So it is that easy just to open up, by the way. It's just one little attachment. Actually, two attachments, I should say. It's on her vest top thing. And let's go ahead and see if I can get this thing off now. Usually they're a little bit difficult to pull off the first time because the rubber is so fresh and whatever. But over time, it will loosen. They'll be easier to get on and off. I mean, I didn't even need to take off her hands because luckily she does have smaller hands than most of the male wrestlers do. So that is how she looks with the entrance gear off. The entrance gear is so cool, but yeah, let's get that out of the way for a second, just so you can get a better shot of this outfit. So this would be the wrestling gear you would have seen her actually working in for the entire match. Let's get a nice little look at that. And again, you can see articulation, there's going to be no issues here. There's really nothing that can hinder her, especially without that entrance gear on. So she will have a full range of motion, so no complaints there. And again, just like look how good this thing looks. I mean, this is a really fun outfit. It's just such a different looking outfit. That's even a zipper. They actually painted on a zipper for her. That's really cool. Another detail I'm just noticing now too, her knee pads actually have like little ties on them. That's like a brand new knee pad. I don't think we've seen that before with any other characters. So they've really gone all out for this Becky Lynch figure. So again, I say this with a lot of confidence. If you're not buying the women's wrestling figures, you're really missing out so much awesomeness. Like, these things are just great. And I think I can say now, bar none, Becky is my #1 figure in this 4-pack. I mean, Austin's great. The Rock is also a surprisingly nice figure. Hogan is Hogan, but he's got the green belt. That's really the best I can say about him. But I'd say, pound for pound, this Becky Lynch, for me, is absolutely carrying this 4-pack. So that's our look at Becky, the 4th and final figure in this pack. Let's go ahead now and give you guys my final thoughts on all the figures here. So that is the Then Now Forever Target exclusive 4-pack, and here's all of our wrestlers. I put the entrance gear back on The Rock. I'm leaving off of Hogan and Becky for the time being, but here's some more shots of all these guys in action. And I want to address #1, the price of this 4-pack too, at $80 more or less. It's not really a bargain, but it's still a decent price because you are getting a few dollars off of these figures. Because now even at Target, Elites are basically $23 and sometimes more depending on what they are. So if you're getting 80 bucks for figures that are Elite style, then that's a good deal as far as I'm concerned. And they all have a great number of hands. They all have some good accessories. The entrance gear is phenomenal. So yes, on all those accounts, it is totally worth it. I think it's a great 4-pack to have. Even the figures that I'm kind of annoyed about, like the Hogan, for example, it's always good to have a spare Hogan. It's always good to have a beater Hogan, basically. But yeah, you get the green belt finally. You get the really nice American-made shirt. The Rocky is really cool, and it's not a figure you're going to see too many of. Likewise, same thing with the Austin. Surprisingly, not a lot of Austin 316 t-shirt and jean shorts versions of Austin out there, so it's good to have them. And Becky is just amazing. There really aren't enough figures of Becky from her heel run. The only other one I can think of is like her Survivor Series Elite, which is not good. That's actually not really good Becky. This one, heads and tails, is one of the best Beckys they've made from that run, and really over the last few years, because it's such an iconic outfit. I think the only thing worth mentioning as far as a negative would be is actually the packaging. I had such a hard time with the packaging, and this is kind of a nitpick, but it's true. If you're a loose collector like I am, I have to tell you guys the hands were buried in there, so you're not going to be able to really easily get these figures back in that plastic tray. I had to wrestle, and not only did I have to wrestle to get them out of there, I had to cut up and basically destroy that plastic tray to get all the hands out of there. They were in there so secure, it was bizarre to me. And I've complained in the past about companies like Jazzwares doing the same thing. This was the worst. This was one of the worst wrestling unboxing experiences I've had, and that's really unfortunate. And what makes it even more odd is that, yeah, those hands in there were so secure, but FYI, that Hogan was not at all. All you had to do was take off that tape, slide the tray out, yoink the belt out of there, and it's stolen. So I say this as a precaution to folks out there. Be very careful when you're buying this set, especially if you're buying him in store. If you're buying it online, I don't think you'll have this issue, but if you're buying it in store, really make sure you see Hogan with that belt around his waist, because I would not be shocked to see a lot of really horrible people doing some really bad things. But overall, again, great 4-pack, totally worth the money. I'm really happy here. Even with my annoyance about Hogan, I'm still really excited about this pack, and I think you're going to like this one a lot too. So I'm going to have a link to where you can get it, but keep in mind this is a Target exclusive. It'll only be around for a limited amount of time. So that's our look at the Then, Now, Forever Together 4-pack from Mattel, available only at Target. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments as well. Let me know if you agree with my assessment of all these toys here. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.